No, you're tough to hear, Sarah. You gotta speak
A little
up.
hard, yeah.
All right.
That's better.
That's
but-
better.
Okay.
Okay, do we have anybody from the public attending?
We do not.
Wait, he's someone.
Okay, I was not here last month. I apologize, but I am here tonight. And I'm gonna be your host until Erica jumps in or assist Erica when she does jump in. So we have the approval of the January 28th minutes.
You
I
just,
did not get a chance to look them over, I'll be honest with you, but I wasn't there.
I've got one clarification. Just, I guess page 3, item 3, Delene. That last paragraph, it just, the first sentence doesn't make sense.
I'm sorry, where are you? Page,
Page 3, little lower 3, lowercase I 3, item number 3, begin planning in a public campaign for locations. Last paragraph. I said basically that experience flooding will not, trees that experience flooding will will need to survive the saltwater saturation. As opposed, I'm not sure what that sentence says otherwise.
you're on page 3,
Page 3 of the November meetings minutes.
November. I don't have November, I only have January.
Ah, well. We
think
didn't
we
approve
already-
them,
I think we already approved them. No.
did we?
I don't think so because we did not have a quorum.
Well, the only item that's on tonight is for January.
All right.
Yeah,
We'll have to approve them then in March. Double check. It's not a big deal. It's just wordsmithing.
Okay,
no wonder it was hard to find, Peter. It was the wrong month.
I was like,
That's a
what?
good thing. Otherwise, the January meeting minutes, I don't have a problem with.
Okay,
January
So I'll
minutes.
second the motion.
Yay.
Okay, so I found a couple of errors under, what page is this? It says, it's page 3. And it starts off with, that on the streets, Miss Cruz said that there are several factors. Is everybody with me here? It's right on the phone. Anyway, the very last sentence, she said they also reached out to 22 adopted tree farms. I think the word is forms.
Forms.
For this, for the fall planting season as well. Okay, delete.
Yep.
And yes, and then another error I found under planning for the 2025 Arbor Day events would be the Arbor Day cleanup. And it's the last sentence, and it should be Ms., not Mr. Cruz.
got it.
I don't mind
You
deleting.
know, I'm like a lunatic and fanatic about these things. Anything to press has to be accurate. So there you go. Otherwise, it's perfect.
As perfect as we get.
Can I get a motion to approve as modified?
Yep.
Can I
Good
get a
job.
second?
Seconded.
Yes.
And Mr. Pete and Gay, thank you very much. Minutes approved as modified. And we'll move on to Eversource. Sam for the tree trimming permit. Take it away, Sam.
Good
Good evening.
Good evening.
How is everybody?
Very good. Thank you for coming.
You're very welcome. I'm representing the roadside distribution lines. So these are the lines that are running down the streets, the state roads, the town roads, and the private roads. And this is concerning the scheduled maintenance trimming for the year. Our scheduled maintenance trimming for 2025 is very light in Norwalk this year, about 16 miles total. Put that in comparison to last year, we did almost 80 miles in the city of Norwalk, and this year we're doing about 16 and a half miles, so it's not very extensive at all. Paul, can I just plug?
Yeah, we're gonna have Sam plug his computer in, so he can bring up the mapping. we had met with Eversource back on January 22nd to review the permit and issue the permit, and then he's gonna present the mapping for the permit that was issued.
Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm not seeing it.
Yep.
Good.
All right, I'm gonna share the screen. And I'm gonna let Sam plug in.
How about now?
No,
No.
no guts. No guts.
Okay. I will. So I'm gonna log into the meeting, and share it that way. Sorry for the delay. Technical difficulties, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we tried to have him plug it directly into the smart board here, which I'm logged into, and it's not allowing it to come up. He's gonna log into the meeting as though we were outside. Try it that way.
Give it a shot.
I'm sorry, this is Erica. Are you unable to open up a PowerPoint presentation? Is that what's happening? I jumped on a few minutes late.
No, it's not a PowerPoint presentation. It's just a illustration of where we'll be in the city of Norwalk for the roadside distribution trimming.
Are you
as-
able to email anything to like Delene, for example, and have her share it?
You can email it to
It's
me
logging
if
in
you
right
want,
now.
Sam.
He's logging in right now.
Yeah, if it doesn't work, let's do that so that we can, because Delene can display anything up for us.
Yeah, so, in the meantime, we met with Paul earlier in the year, to outline our plan. All right.
Recording in progress.
All right. Let me shut my, I'll shut mine off. There we go. Can you hear me?
Sam, you're gonna have to go into another room, but from them.
Here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. Let's see, let's share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that?
No.
No.
All right, watch this. How's that?
Yep.
There
Now
you
I got
go.
So this is an illustration of what the 2025 trimming is. So for backbone mileage, that's 3-phase lines. It's 7.5 miles. Laterals is only 4.3 miles, so we're totaling a little over 11 miles total for the area. These are the circuits that we're going to be working and when we're going to be starting. We have started on the 9Ss. The 9S substation is right where 123 and 7 are, where the new Genesis dealer is. That's the substation there. And then what that looks like is this area right in the middle of the city of Norwalk is where that work is taking place. There's the 9S 43 that runs out of the corner, the western corner of Norwalk. And then there's a small section on the border of Wilton. Wilton is very heavy in mileage this year, as well as the lower half of Darien. But for the city of Norwalk, we're only looking at 11.5 miles, 11.8 miles. And the trimming is going to take place through Lewis Tree. Their permission specialists will be out. They go door to door. The process has not changed. We get consent from the the abutting properties to the work. And no is an answer.
Sam, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Why such a big decrease if you normally do 80 miles? Why like 16 miles this year? What's that?
So-
contributing?
So the trimming is done on a 4-year rotation. So down here, we have about 2,600 miles, 2,700 miles in the area that I manage, which are the 10 towns in the lower panhandle, Ridgefield and Reading. And they cycle through. So some towns that are heavy this year, they'll have a light year as well, and other towns will be heavier. So it's kind of how the cycle is. We also select circuits within that cycle that are poor performing based on historical outage data that's tree related. So we may move a circuit from next year to this year because of its performance. But every town has a down year where the mileage is lighter, just so we're not inundating them all the time. So
So
if
should
you-
we anticipate it going back to like 80 miles in the future?
Well, it's going to be cyclical on a 4 to 5 year rotation. So you'll always have a year that comes up that's going to be less mileage, but very rarely do we have a situation where everything in the town is done. The smaller towns, something like Reading, might have a situation like that because there are 2 primary circuits that work through Reading, and we trim on a circuit basis. So to put that in understandable words, think about a circuit as a zone in your house that's on your circuit board. So you can shut the kitchen off or shut a bathroom off. Our circuits are set up very similarly where we'll have zones. They're all interconnected, but at the same time, they're independent circuits. So we trim by circuit. And if they're on a 4-year rotation, the rotations are historically based, but they're also historically based on outage data. So we may move or shift a circuit that's performing poorly when it comes to the outages that are tree related. But we haven't done anything like that in the city of Norwalk. It just happens to be this year. So I would say in 25, ours are down 6, 7, 8, 2029, it'll probably be another light year. Last year was relatively light as well, with only 70 miles, 80 miles of trimming.
No, I mean, year after year, trees do come down, you continue to maintain. So, you know, things grow, but on the other hand, you keep taking stuff down. So there's sort of a management issue going on. So two points. Circuit 9S43 again. That's your three-phase line up Silvermine through Comstock. You were there last
Yep.
year. You were there 2 years ago. You were there probably the year before that. So that's not very cyclic. That's regular. So these three-phase lines, in my opinion, get hit regularly. Now, it's not that you've been terrible at it, but it's just that it never seems to fall off sequence. Why? Because it's a backup line. If I'm wrong about that, go ahead, you tell me that, but that seems like it's always going to be targeted. So we're just cognizant of how do we maintain tree canopy cover in lines that are three phases and, whatever, or two phase, whatever your main supply lines are. And that brings me to point 2, is that in the management plan, which we'll talk about shortly, how does Eversource have input into that management plan so we know how to create streetscapes that can work with the high tense power lines? Because we've not seen that happen yet. We've talked to Eversource over a number of years about how do we manage plantings and tree canopy cover so they're not necessarily in conflict with any of the power lines, particularly the high source power lines, which are more critical to the larger groups of people. I don't expect you to have an answer, but it's just that's targeted where we'd like to go. I don't like arguing all the time with Lewis. They've been pretty good, but as long as they work with me, I'm fine. But I live on Comstock, that's why. So I'm very aware of that one.
2 years ago was the end of ETT as a program that Eversource used, which was a style of pruning that was ground to sky. We no longer do that. Our maintenance over three-phase backbone is 15 feet.
Now you garbled out.
Or two, not going to be taking anything off that's already arcing over those lines.
Right.
Oh, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we lost a little bit, but we understood what you said.
Right. So just for an example, East Rocks and West Rocks still have canopy cover in a three-phase situation. Right. So it takes time. The other issue with compatibility is exactly that. And I had a conversation with Gabe before the meeting started that, species compatibility, right? Are the trees compatible with the lines, or are they going to grow immediately up and through them? Right. So planning and species selection will help that progress into the future. But trees are on their timeline. They're not on ours, right? And it takes a long time for them to grow and get to what you're expecting as far as a canopy cover, if you will. The canopy doesn't just include, these huge, massive trees. And management of those trees on the city's side as well as Eversource's side as a joint effort is probably another answer to that, right? So ground to sky pruning does not exist anymore for roadside distribution.
Yeah, I think maybe it's more about us looking at how do we get trees on the opposite sides of the streets as well. So, but that's more of a tree management and strategy in neighborhoods that, we can work with Eversource on at some level.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'd like to look at that. Conversations with Gay before the meeting started. We're going to continue dialogue.
There may be other strategies that look at thinning the understory growth so you get 4 trees that are strong as opposed to having a wood line that's, too weak. So, selective removal at the ground level of trees that are going to eventually affect power lines is something we don't talk about much. But there are edges of the woodland where there are too many small trees. They're never going to be strong enough to create a canopy, but we never take them out to the ground. So that may, because the cost of doing that adds to Eversource's, costs. But that is something that management, long-term management says now if you spent, several decades here working on the tree canopy cover, is there a way we look at the strategy where we actually go all the way down to the ground and and think about what should be there long-term. I'm just putting it out there. I don't necessarily have an answer for you, Sam. But it's a long-term,
No.
it's a longer way, it's a longer-term investment or way of thinking about it.
I like it, Peter. I like it a lot. And I think location means a lot. And maybe looking at locations that you're describing together and walking those locations and seeing what we can do. And let's take a quarter of a mile or 10 spans of line in a situation that you're describing and see what we can do. I'm not opposed to that.
No, it's long-term, saving money long-term. But the public also has to be made aware. That's education, and that's where we can come in a little bit.
Of course. Any other questions?
None for now. Very nice, Sam. Thank you very much.
Sorry for the technical difficulty.
I
See
think you
if Paul
handled
lets you
it
back in the
well.
room now. Paul's not gonna let you back in.
Yes, he
Hey,
will.
you can't go back in the room once you leave. Okay, thank you. No other questions for Sam?
So what we'll do is basically, once now that it's been presented and the public and the committee has seen it, we'll post the mapping on the city website for everyone to see along with the permit now.
Okay, sounds good. Next up is gonna be Matt from Eversource also for the transmission tree trimming.
Jeff, do you have a hand up?
Yep. I was just saying, because I might have to jump soon, but anywhere that the Norwalk Tree Alliance can partner with the city and Eversource, we'd love to help.
Great.
Even if it was education and outreach.
I like that idea, Jeff.
Thanks,
Good.
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
So good evening, everybody. My name is Matthew. I'm an arborist with Eversource, and I manage the vegetation under the transmission lines for Southwest Connecticut. So this year we have a maintenance project on the transmission lines that go over the railroad, the Metro North Railroad, through the city of Norwalk. So that's between, Westport and Darien. I do have a map here. I can share my screen, just give an overview. Let's see here. If everybody can just let me know when you can see my screen.
Got it.
We got it.
Alrighty. So it's a kind of pretty high, bird's eye view here map that shows a layout of the transmission lines over the railroad. But it's about 4.5 miles. And just to give you some points of reference, up here closer to the Westport, Norwalk town line, we have like Norden Place, that kind of big park there. Then they travel to the west, to the southwest here. They go, we have about East Ave and the East Norwalk train station right about here, if you can see my cursor. Then it crosses over the Norwalk River. Then it travels over somewhere around here. We have the South Norwalk train station. And then it travels down, kind of goes parallel near Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive or Ave. And then it goes between Rockland and all the way to Rowayton train station before it enters a Darien town, town of Darien there. So the transmission lines are on the sides of the Metro North train tracks. They're on the north and south side of the train tracks for the majority of the lines in Norwalk. But between Rockland Road and the Rowayton train station, it's about 3/4 of a mile where they're just on the south side of the tracks. And it strings along some Eversource properties there in kind of this unmaintained area. So what the scope of work we have for our maintenance is pruning trees and removing incompatibles 25 feet from the outside conductor. And if you guys were kind of around over the last few years, you probably saw we did a lot of that work in, 2021, 2022, and the last cycle ended in 2023. Our cycles are on a 4-year cycle, kind of similar to distribution. And but because this project that at large, it goes from the Westport Fairfield town line and goes all the way to Cos Cob in Greenwich. It's a total of 18 miles. The last cycle, because there was so much work to do, we had, some areas were forced underneath the lines. That project took 2 years. So even though the last cycle just finished in 2023, we are starting our 4-year cycle from the original start date. That was in 2021. It feels really good to say that this year we just are pruning new growth and cutting new saplings. So it's not a very big impact to the town or to neighbors or butters. So that's really nice. The work is going to go much faster. And right now we have crews working in Westport, and they'll be heading west, soon to approach the city of Norwalk in a few weeks. And in a perfect world, I'd love to have the crews, keep working here in Westport, work west all the way towards Greenwich. However, I'm sure you guys know about the Norwalk Bridge Replacement Project, and there's other projects that are going on. And when those things occur, it gives us like restrictions in certain lines or areas that we can't work. So we do have to hopscotch once in a while. So even though we may start working in the city of Norwalk in a few weeks or next month, there might be some areas skipped, and we'll just come back later in the year. But overall, like I said, it's a very small impact we're making to the right of way. It's just pruning some new growth and removing new saplings. And so, when we are able to complete it all, it should move pretty fast. The work will just mostly be done with climbers or bucket trucks where we can access from, parking lots that kind of get close enough to the rail. So let's see here. Scope of work. Our outreach efforts, one of the things we do is we actually send all of our butters. If you guys can still see my screen, we have a letter we send out all to our butters, just giving them a description of the work that's going to occur. And we also have an outreach specialist that goes and leaves door hangers, makes phone calls, and attempts, multiple times to meet with property owners to review the scope of work on or near their property. The good thing again about just doing this project so recently, we have a lot of that, recent and relevant contact info from the last time we came through. It's actually also the same outreach specialist that's doing it. So just a lot of those familiarities and relationships, that stuff that kind of goes a long way and helps out a lot. Something I'd like to just leave up on the screen. If you guys want to post this on the website, if anybody does have questions, after this meeting or for the public, we have this number 888-673-9943 or an email ctvegmaintenance@eversource.com. If you answer any question, if you have any questions, you can call that or email that. And it's I would say 99 to 100% of these will get forwarded to me if it's a question in this area on this project, and I'll reach out to that resident or citizen, to answer any questions. So I'll leave that up there, and I just want to see if anybody has any questions or anything like that.
Go back to your section if you would, Matt.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Scroll down to the section.
Scroll down.
I want to see the section on the screen. The colored picture, the picture.
Oh, the map. Yes.
No, just be on your letter.
This. Yeah.
Right.
This one.
Okay. So who actually manages that landscape?
Well,
I imagine it's owned and it's regulated and it's all team tag.
Yeah, so this is like kind of a unique situation because here we happen to have like a railroad in between. So if you imagine, railroad in the middle, here, we can only prune one side of the lines because there's going to be a line usually on each side of the railroad tracks. So we are just managing the incompatibles, which are any trees that can grow over 15 feet. So say if there's any like locust saplings or maple or oak saplings, those are things we're cutting. We're not mowing the entire side or getting everything, so if there's anything that can grow, if there's more shrubby or anything that grows less than 15 feet, we just leave that. So sometimes you go into lawn, if it goes, or sometimes it's just the kind of DOT property, which is typically unmaintained.
DOT or railroad property.
Yeah, so yes.
And it's a mix, just so you know, Peter, going through Norwalk with the high tower transmission lines like this. Some of it's railroad, some of it's easements through properties, and then others are actual parcels that Eversource owns outright too. So it's a
Correct.
mix. Norwalk.
So I'm just gonna throw this out there so Sarah can have some fun with this. And even Jeff, you've got that understory underneath those evergreens that could probably use 1,000, witch hazels or some smaller native trees that would stop the invasive from going in there and be easier to maintain long term. It's a hell of a corridor for pollinators. So there's opportunity maybe in sort of the team tag with the public sector of how we could underplant that margin and A, make it look better, and B, be more ecologically stable. And I say that for a couple reasons. One, we're looking for places to be impactful with the addition of pollinating and sort of ecological systems, and still maintain corridor, because you need to do that. Two is, it is the major passageway between New York and between Boston and Washington, D.C. And how many hundreds of thousands of people travel this line every day? And it looks terrible. So I have a sort of landscape value point that I'm making, and two is there's opportunity perhaps with some partnership. Now, it's difficult to get any planting in there based on rights of way and safety and all sorts of stuff, but just putting it out there, because we do have to maintain it and it can't have trees in the way. But well, I had the opportunity to throw a few concepts out there.
No, it's a good point, Peter.
Yeah.
How to do it's another question.
I third that.
Yeah, I mean, this project is a little bit unique just because it's all on that railroad DOT property. It's just kind of its own, that has its own landscape, and so which differs than just our typical right-of-ways that go through residential properties and all types of landscapes other than an unmaintained railroad property. So this one is definitely different.
I mean, DOT has the ear is a little more open to vegetation management. So it's an easier discussion than it was 5 years ago.
Mhm.
But getting any non, safety trained personnel to do anything in those rights of way is almost impossible. So just how do we do it? If we, if there's something we can do, maybe there's some opportunity.
So we met with Matt on this permit back on January 22nd also. And the permit's been issued, and once again, now that we've met, the plan has been presented to the committee, we'll put this out on the website. And if you want to send us that letter, Matt, we'll also include that if you'd like,
Yeah, that'd be great. So
part of the permit.
Any other questions for Matt? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you for coming.
Didn't give you too much of a hard time.
Moving on, old business. I don't see any items. Does anybody have any old business they'd like to bring up at this point in time? Hearing none, we'll move on to new business. New business, I'll go first. Arbor Day's coming. So Arbor Day is April 25th, I believe, the last Friday in April. And we're gonna do an Arbor Day cleanup project with the local tree companies. So I met with Sarah we're working on the Norwalk River Trail as we have in the last couple of years. So last year we did the northern section along Riverside Avenue. And 2 years ago, we did the southern section down by Van Buren and Route 1. So this year we're targeting the center section, which we're gonna meet up at 40 Cross Street, I believe is the address, right, Sarah?
Yep.
And we're gonna be doing the trees along the river in there, and the date that we're targeting, we're at the very preliminary planning session. But we're looking for Wednesday, April 23rd, so we're a couple days ahead of Arbor Day, so we don't conflict with Arbor Day projects going on at the school, or Earth Day, which is the following Saturday, I believe. So we'll have more to update, or I'll have more to update probably next meeting, but that's just the very beginning of planning for the Arbor Day cleanup this for the tree companies, so it's not really like a open public event. We'll probably have to close that section of the trail to public and get permission from the medical building at 40 Cross Street, because that's where the tree companies are going to be setting up. It's a section that Paul and I looked at, I think 3 years ago, but that was under construction with Deering, and now that's all completed. So this will kind of complete that whole Norwalk River Trail new section with 3 years of Arbor Day cleanup.
That
So
sounds
I'll-
great, Rich. And
Yeah.
and again, just to kind of reiterate, that's not open to the public because it could actually be pretty dangerous with some of the stuff that's going on. So
Yeah, we actually don't want
Yeah.
public, and we don't want people on the trail because we're gonna be doing a lot of heavy work, and best not to have pedestrians walking underneath us or into our work zone while we're doing it.
Exactly. A public event though for Earth Day is going to be happening on Saturday, April 26th. That's the event just about all of us were at last year. That's the Earth Day on the Green in the center of Norwalk. So again, it's scheduled for the 26th. Paul, did you fill something out for you to attend? I can forward you that link if you didn't.
Oh, yeah, well, Sarah's been working with the planning committee like I had worked with them last year. She's been
Oh.
going to the bi-weekly meetings.
So Sarah, so then you obviously you filled out that form. I just wanted to make sure it has a deadline of like April 3rd. I just wanted to make sure that and then I guess Jeff, if NTA wants to have a table there, April 3rd is the cutoff date to fill out that form and get some space there.
Yeah, I can email that form to you, Jeff, if there's many mailing lists. So I'll just forward that over.
Okay.
And then we also on new business have the announcement for the tree master plan.
Yeah, and thank you, Rich, for meeting me over by the NRVT, because that really is a good site and similar conditions to last year where there's just vines all over some of these trees and snags and just gnarly ailanthus as well. So it'll really do good.
Yeah, it'll be a fun
Yeah.
day.
Ailanthus aren't being posted anymore, Peter, so not posted or replaced. Yeah, so I actually have a date finalized for the public workshop for the tree master plan. So we're looking to hold a public workshop for the general public is invited, but there's also, we're inviting any local organizations, Jeff, Tree Alliance. We reached out to a couple others right now to join us, and the consultant to take a look at the tree master plan, the contents, but more so, we're really focusing on how we're going to implement the strategies and recommendations in the master plan. So we'll be looking at their tree planting strategies, which Peter, like you alluded to before, yeah, we can see where we're lacking canopy or where we're doing well with canopy, but how do we actually take action to change conditions or to plan for the future? And then we'll also be kind of doing some educational and activity talking about maintenance, how there's over 25,000 public trees in Norwalk, we estimate, and then how many thousands are publicly owned or owned by businesses. So kind of walking through how the community at large can participate and help out with the urban forest and who's responsible for what kind of maintenance, stewardship, things like that. So March 20th, that's a Thursday. It'll be taking place at City Hall in the community room from 5 to 7 p.m. And so we'll have a lot of announcements on the city's website. I included the link to our starter page on the city's website in the agenda, but basically just look out for updates there. And then to the committee, anyone who can join, we'll have kind of a more internal workshop the day before between 1 and 3 p.m. at City Hall. So I know that's kind of hard for folks with work schedules, but if you're able to join either event, that would be great. And I would also add, certainly Eversource is an important stakeholder, you know, in the plan, as are any other agencies interacting with trees in the city. So we do plan to, you know, reach out and try to get as much engagement as we can there. Yeah. And I should also say that the plan is available on the city's website as well. So in its draft form.
Great.
So do your homework before the 20th. I mean, we have to do our homework before the 20th.
Peter, I expect many questions.
So while we have Sam and Matt in our attendance, we're hoping that Eversource is going to participate in the Arbor Day cleanup event.
I think you missed that, Ray.
Oh, did they leave
I think
already?
you missed the window, dude.
Sam just whispered to me. I'll let Sam tell everybody.
So I do it every year, but I'll donate 2 trucks for that cleanup, 2 crews.
Good, we'll give them pizza when they're done.
Good. See, Paul did let you in the back of the room, didn't he?
Thank you.
Very much
Thank you.
appreciated. Thank you.
Lisa.
Any other items, otherwise we're gonna adjourn?
Become an important event, and I know even some of the council members, Councilmember Burnett was very impressed one of the years and actually was very happy and made a comment at one of the council meetings about it too, that the time that was donated all free of charge to the city for a cleanup to the city. So it's become an important event and very popular and very much appreciated for the people that have donated their time.
Yeah, the river trails actually worked out very well for several reasons. Number one, there's no power lines. Thank you, Eversource. We don't have to worry about that working near them. There's no traffic control needed because we're kind of off the main road when we do the river trails. So it works out good for the tree companies, both those aspects, and it's actually pretty neat. If you go back and look at some of the other sections that we did, and I had the opportunity to walk it and scout it and see the trees that Sarah followed up with and planted, it's kind of neat. So everything's coming full circle.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have some new room for some new plantings after we do this next section.
Yeah.
Most of these, yes. I would love to talk to you.
Wouldn't be bad to see views of the water.
Whatever I can do to help you.
It'd be kind of nice.
Yeah, it'll be nice. It's actually a really neat section over there by 40 Cross Street. I walked it a couple times now. It's very impressive.
No, I don't disagree. It's very nice. Actually.
Goes right up by your office.
Yes, I know.
So we're expecting you to be there that day, Pete.
Oh, boy.
All right, thank you. So thank you, everybody. Spring's coming.
Mhm.
Jeff, do you have
During the
anything from
meeting,
the Tree Alliance?
Erica, feel better, please?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're more than welcome.
Actually,
Stink getting sick.
just a little background, Rich, that section that you like so much, that was the Union Mill, Paul. That was before Route 7. That whole area, the Norwalk River, was quite well developed as the mill. and a mill
Yeah.
Oh,
pond.
really?
So there's a whole layering of history in that intersection that helps you understand why it's so generous and it's quirky and it is pleasant to be in.
And you should
Is
see
that
some of the
where
old
Union-
maps.
Union Park gets its name from?
I don't think that's the case. Well, who knows? That I don't know.
Not sure, but you should see some of the old maps we have here in the office that show just what Peter's talking about, some of the mills along the river and different things going back in the 1800s, early 1900s. It's interesting to see some of the history and the way it's been mapped out over the years.
Yeah, no, it's changed a lot.
Neat.
We did a walk along the NRVT, and thank you, Peter, for sharing that and doing the history on that. I think there was 5 or 6 people that joined us, and they all really appreciated it, and me as well.
Well, I think also that Route 7 is like the oldest trading route from Canada to Long Island Sound, in the Northeast. It's like it's been here for 500 years. So,
Oh, I didn't know that. Neat.
well, it's mutated, but it's the landscape and evolution.
Rich, I missed something pretty big, which is Miss McLeod was officially sworn in to take over Cindy Casuto's seat on the committee, and I apologize, Gay, for missing that at the beginning.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Thank you.
Gay.
We were going to let you
Welcome
go
back.
anyway.
Good to have her back.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
There's
Thank
no
you,
cherry
everybody.
tree,
We'll see
dear.
everybody next March 29th, correct?
Correct. 25th.
25th, I'm sorry, 25th.
Right.
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. Good to see you.
Thank
Be
you.
much nicer weather then. See you guys then.
All right.